I've called 911 3 times in my life. And for one, it was the police. For one, it was the ambulance. And for one, it was the fire department. I can't remember actually if I called the fire department or someone else did now. It's been a while. But I was stuck in an elevator. So the fire department had to come and break it open to save us. Actually, I think I have a video about that. So I want to talk about the phrases that we might use when we need this kind of help. Something is urgent, right? And the different levels, because some things are very urgent. Sometimes we just need help. Sometimes we want to report something, right? I want to talk about the different phrases we use and also kind of share my some of my experiences, in particular with the ambulance and the police, okay? So how do we say this? If we want to just report someone and we need the police to come, but it's not like a shooting is happening or a robbery. It's just the police should come now. I'm going to call 911. And maybe it's because your neighbors are being noisy, right? Maybe it's as simple as that. You call 911 for that. What do we say? How do we describe that, right? So let's just go over a couple of simple phrases, and then we'll get into some of the more urgent stuff, starting with the basics, right? 911 is the number in the United States that you call when you need help fairly urgently or very urgently from either the police department or the fire department, or maybe you need medical help, you need an ambulance. And what you're calling when you call 911 is a dispatcher. This is the person responsible for deciding where your call goes, to the police station or to call an ambulance, for example, okay? But let's say there's a lady named Karen, and she doesn't like noise, and her neighbors are having a noisy party at 2 a.m, okay? So we would say she called the, and then here you could say cops or police. Police is more formal. Cops is more casual. Either one is okay. On her neighbors. Okay, neighbors. She called the police or cops on them. Now, could we say she called the fire department on them? She called the ambulance on them? No. This is just for reporting something or letting the police know that they need to come and their attention is required, basically. Now, is this extremely urgent? Probably not. You could instead of calling 911, call the police station directly. But if you just call 911, it's a non-emergency situation. I think it's also fairly okay and pretty common. But you might in that sort of situation not call 911 and instead just call the police station. Now, this would be filing a police report or reporting an incident or crime, okay? Now, filing a police report would be definitely usually I believe almost always a non-emergency situation. This is something happened that needs the police to pay attention to it, or the police need to know about, and I'm letting the police know, whether I call 911 or I call the police station directly. Filing a police report. This often happens after a traffic accident. So I got in an accident once, and it wasn't my fault. Someone hit me at an intersection, and someone else called the police. The police came, and I had to file a police report. I had to tell the police what happened, and they had to come and they had to check the damage to my car, all of that stuff. This is when I was in high school. This happened. And so it was not urgent in particular because I wasn't hurt or anything, right? Nothing bad had happened to anybody, but this needed to happen. So this is usually for non-emergency situations. Now, this could be either one, but this is when you see something else to report an incident or crime. Incident makes it seem like it's less urgent, right? Incident often means that you're not even sure it is a crime, but it's something that the police should come and check out. And then a crime is when you absolutely see something. You see somebody get robbed. You see someone smash a window and steal jewelry. This sort of thing is a crime. And if you witness that, if you see that happen, right? If you witness a crime, then you might report that crime. So report would be the perfect word for that sort of situation. Now, I one time had to do this. I was in my apartment building. Well, I was in my apartment in a building, and sometimes we heard the neighbors fighting, but we heard one night, help, help, help. And this was after we had heard a lot of shouting from the apartment. Then we heard help, help, help. I ran out of my apartment into the hallway. The neighbor had done the same, and there were 3 apartments on this floor, and we both ran out and went to the door and listened, and there was more yelling. So I called 911, and I said, I need to report an incident. I think the police should come out right away. They asked then the information, what's the address, which the apartment number. So I had to do that. And it turned out to be not actually that serious, but there was yelling. I don't believe there was any actual domestic violence. But what I said was I would like to report an incident because I wasn't sure if what was happening was actually serious or what. And, you want to be safe. So the police came. I think 6 or 7 police cars came and they knocked on the apartment door, and I don't know exactly what happened after that. Now, you could also say to witness an accident, and that's when you've seen something, and usually it's when someone's hurt and you need the ambulance. So one time I was driving down a country road, and I saw a car flipped upside down beside the road, just sitting there. There's the car. And I thought, well, the ambulances aren't. Where are the ambulances? They should be here. And then I thought, maybe I'm the first person to see this. Maybe this hasn't been reported yet. So I called 911 again, and I said, I have witnessed an accident. Or maybe I said, because it was a long time ago, maybe I said I would like to report an accident. Either way, should be okay. Then they asked me again the information. What's the address? I told them the intersection of the 2 roads where I saw it. And they said, oh, that has already been reported. So actually, I wasn't the first person to report it. The paramedics, the ambulances, the police cars, they were already on the way. They just hadn't arrived yet. And they came, and I think the person ended up being fine, but the car was upside down. Now, there are other ways to say this, right? If you want to be specific, when you call, you could say, I need an ambulance at, and then say the address. And that would be when, you are having an allergic reaction or something's going on. You have a medical emergency and you just say, I need an ambulance at this address quickly. And then they might ask you a few more details, but they're going to dispatch the ambulance to that place. Now, sometimes you just say what's happening. You call 911. It's so urgent. You don't have time for any of these phrases. You just say what's going on. There's a knife fight. There's a knife fight happening at this address. Or there's a knife fight happening on the street in front of this building at this address. Or on the corner of these 2 streets. I'm watching it right now. And I call while it's happening. You just say what's going on, right? Or maybe, everything I touch is turning to gold. Please send an ambulance. If everything you touch turns to gold, including your food, that's definitely an urgent situation. You wouldn't want to have the Midas touch, unless you could choose which things to not turn to gold. That would be useful. A lot of those old myths, they are absolute. You know, they never give you sort of rules to say, okay, I want everything that I want to turn to gold, but there are things that I don't want to turn to gold, like myself or people I know or the food I'm going to eat. But I want to turn that sofa to gold, of course. That's not an emergency. Anyway, those are the common phrases that you need to report a crime, report an incident, let the authorities know that something is going on, that somebody needs help. Those are not the only ones that you can use. The simplest thing to do is just say, this is happening, and then the person that you call, the dispatcher who answers the phone when you dial 911, will know what to do. If there's a knife fight, they're going to send the police and the ambulance. It's not up to you to decide, right? So maybe the simplest thing to do is to say, there's this happening, unless it's not that urgent, in which case you would say, I want to report an incident, or report an accident, or report a crime. Probably the most common one.